Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, I'm going to do that one more time. You get one more turn. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
There we go. Thank you. My name's Scott Carruthers with the Ceramic Tile Education Foundation, along with Randy Fleming from the National Tile Contractors Association. We're going to talk a little bit this afternoon about lippage. Anybody here have lippage issues? Dawn, I know, and I've got a couple of alumni here. I had some folks here this morning that we had our program at 8 o'clock this morning, so these all were up early, and they were able to get out to that first morning session. But we're going to talk about lippage. Anybody in the group, can you help me understand what lippage is? That, there you go, it's right there. It's where one tile is higher than the adjacent tile. And most times when we see that, we have two issues. One is aesthetic. So when we look at it, whether it would be on a floor with lighting that's going across that surface, or if it's on a wall and we have lighting at the wall line and that's coming down, it exacerbates that problem. It looks like it's much more pronounced than what it is. So we want to make sure that we understand what lippage is, but we also have methods for determining what is appropriate. So when we look at the ANSI standard, we know that that standard is 1/32 of an inch, and we can measure that. And the way we measure that is by a device like this, which is produced by the National Tile Contractors Association. Were you with me this morning? Yes, you were. Thank you. So, do we have another measuring device that would be the same thickness? Your credit card. So if you've got a credit card, it's the same thickness as this device right here, and we're going to check to see if we have lippage issues before we get into a problem. Because the time to find out if you have lippage is not after it's installed. We want to solve that problem before. So we've got to go way back, and my alumni, you're going to have to bear with me because we're going to talk about some of the same things we did this morning, but we have to figure out how do we get that surface flat enough for the installation. Because you're going to say, what does flat have to do with lippage? You will find. So, Randy, if you would, let's check the wall for flat. Could you please?
Well, here we go.
So Randy's going to use, how is it? Is it flat?
Perfect.
Perfect. So can we set tile on that surface? Right there you can. Thank you. In that square foot we can. Now, tell me your name, please. Joe? Now, what size tile could we install there? Decos, okay. We could install something up to 15 inches, actually less than 15 inches. In that same area. So Randy, let's take another shot at it, and let's use the longer one. Okay.
This should tell us.
So if we
that is perfect.
If we take a 1/16 shim, or if I use my lippage device, I can't get in there. Is that flat enough for us to install right there? So you're a little particular, aren't you? It's always like this. Make sure your head's always going up and down. So, Randy, we're good to go.
Good to go. Let's mix some thin set.
So let's mix thin set and start setting tile. Oh, forgot to tell you. The tile that we're going to utilize today is 8 inches wide and 83.5 inches long. That's almost 7 feet. And they're coming that size. So the tile is getting longer. And my guys, my alumni, come on, help me. As the tile gets larger, what has to happen to the floor? It's got to get flatter. So that's what we're out to determine. So Randy, let's use the really long one.
Here we go. That's 6 and change.
So, no 16th. I do have a 32nd here.
Yeah.
So, Joe, can I put that large format tile, anything larger than 15 on that surface? We should be able to. So we've established that we have a long enough device to determine how flat that is. However, in the ANSI specifications, those 3 straight edges or levels that Randy used are really not adequate because the standard, Don, help me out, what's the standard? I need a 10-foot straight edge. My wall is only 11. Do I really need to go that far? The answer is yes, we do. So Randy's going to hold this edge up Oh, I'm sorry, I went too fast. You, sir, is that wall flat enough for us to install tile? Randy just checked it 3 times. Is it flat enough? How's it look? Looks good. Anybody disagree that that wall is not flat enough? Brandon? Vertically. Oh, you want us to turn and go the other way? All right, let's check that out, Randy. Let's see what we get. So
What
in this
could go
case,
wrong?
how's that look?
Well, I probably got a 1/8 of an inch over here.
So Randy's got an 1/8 of an inch. So if we go over here with our 1/8 inch horseshoe, actually we're a
not
little
even.
less. So let's dig in the pocket and grab this one. So we're a 1/16 of an inch. Can I put large format tile on that if I'm a 1/16 inch out of flat? Yes, I can. Actually, I can go up to an 1/8 of an inch. So in this case, Randy's going to check it for us again. And in this case, we move up a little bit. I'm good there, but I move just past center. And by the way, my Lippage device, it's a 32nd, I'm tight. So I have a very flat spot here in the center, but now I take my 1/8 inch spacer and I just move about 1.5 feet over, and I do this, whoop, there it goes. So now, can I lay that same tile in that area? 1/8 of an inch, at least where that is. So now I'm going to jump up to a 3/16 spacer, and I come over here, and I walk over here, no, 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 uh-oh. Not magic, it just fell through. So now I'm 3/16 of an inch. Can I install that tile there? Especially if we're running the tile horizontally. So we have an issue with that surface not being perfectly flat. We're going to go and prove one more. Here's a 1/4 inch. So I apologize, we have our props sort of in the way, but I get right over here, and now I'm a 1/4 of an inch out. If we were to install the tile in that area with that much bow or irregular surface, what's going to happen to our tile? We have lippage. We have one tile higher than the other. Again, the longer the tile gets or the bigger the tile gets, the more difficult it is to keep that surface tile to tile flat. Notice that I didn't use the L word. The L word is level. This has nothing to do with level. We are strictly talking about flat. We want to make sure that that surface is flat enough so that that tile from piece to piece has a nice smooth transition. So Randy, before we jump into the rest of this, maybe we better check out the floor and see how we are. So let's go right out here to the edge. And we have our Lippage device. I think we look pretty good. How's it look for an eyeball? So Randy's got a 1/16 of an inch.
16th right there, that's it. And other than that, that's good.
Dead flat. So are we to assume, be careful, does everybody know that word, assume? Yeah. We assume that this floor is flat enough for us to install the tile. However, it's only right here. So Randy, let's just pull this back, and let's go back here in the middle of that panel, and let's see how we look. Man, we're looking pretty good.
Good
Are we a
carpenters,
16?
must be from California.
So we're in this 4-foot area. We've got a surface that's flat enough for us to install large format tile. So we assume that the rest of the floor is likewise. You are the naysayer from Arizona. So Randy, let's pull that back and let's see what we get a little further back. And what do we have here? Anybody run a teeter-totter when they were a kid? We now have a teeter-totter. We've only moved 4 feet off this layout, and all of a sudden we have some issues. So Randy, what do we have on your end?
Let's start with an 8. Oh, I'm not even touching at an 8. I'm not touching at a 3/16. At the very end, I'm a 1/4.
So he has a full 1/4 of an inch at that point, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm a 1/16 right here, and I'm pretty good there. There's my high spot, and right in the center. So for us to get this in flat, we have a couple of options. Being that this is a wood floor, can we sand this surface to get it down? With the right OSHA-approved equipment for dust, yes, we could. However, there are other products which we'll talk about in just a minute. But Randy, if we continue this straight edge going that direction, what's going to happen to that end?
Yeah, it's going to keep telegraphing
It's going to keep going up. So let's envision that we have a doorway at this side. How are we going to make a transition if we continue this straight line to that point over there? We could end up being a 1/2, 3/4 of an inch high at the doorway. How do we solve that problem? The answer is not very easily. So we don't want to do that. So Randy, we probably want to knock that down. Let's see if we can get an eighth of an inch on each end. Oh, we're still not there.
Still not there.
So
let me go to 3/16 on my side.
If we go 3/16 on each side, we're almost there. Not quite. I still have my full eighth. So I'm an eighth here, I'm a quarter there. Can we install tile on this surface? And think of it. The tile that I mentioned is almost 7 feet in length, 83.5 inches long. That's only about that much shorter than this straight edge. That's one piece. And if we're going up over Mount Everest here, we have a real problem. So the methods to do it, one, we could sand that floor with the appropriate equipment. We could use a patch material, which is a mixed up trowelable patch, and we would feather this area out. But realize when we do that, we're ending up probably doing most of the floor because we have to feather that out to keep that same flatness that we have overall. The other way would be to use a self-leveler. Everybody knows what a self-leveler is? My alumni this morning, I didn't have the term in my head, so I have my prop right here. The new term for self-leveling underlayment, SLU, I'm going to give you the new acronym. It's FHCU. Yeah, you can play with those letters and get yourself in serious trouble. It is now called flowable hydraulic cement underlayment. So lock that in your head, it's coming. It's going to be flowable hydraulic cement underlayment. So we now have 4 letters rather than 3. But the product is still the same. Somebody help me. Don, help me out. If you're using an SLU, can I come up here and I'm going to clean the floor? Randy's done a great job of cleaning this floor. Are we ready to put that SLU in place? Why? Oh, wait a minute. You brought a whole different dynamic into this. He's saying we have to seal the floor because this product, remember the new word is flowable? If you have a very, very small hole, that product will find it and you will create stalactites growing down on the level down below. It will find those holes and actually run. And you're up there, you put it in place, you know that you needed 5 bags to do this area, and all of a sudden you're down too low. The only way to solve that is to seal that up. You may use a sealant or a caulking or something to close those off so we don't get that running, but that's one issue. But the other issue, what else do we need before we use an SLU? Primer, and it has to be the primer of the same manufacturer as the powder. Do not try to integrate somebody else's product because it's still in the truck and you want to use what you have left over. That's a bad situation because you now have 0 warranty because the manufacturers have tracers in their products that they can actually go through and determine whether that's product A or product B or product C, and they really don't like working well together. So you always, always want to make sure that you're using a product that is made by that same manufacturer. So we've now determined how we've closed up all the pinholes, and you may have to seal that up the whole way around the perimeter because you don't want it to run through. And I've seen it actually go through on joints that are not tongue and groove, run right through the joint. So you may have to seal those up as well. So we've got that done. We have the primer on. We let that primer dry per the manufacturer's recommendations. We mix our self-leveler. We place it on the floor. And Randy, is that a guarantee that we're going to have a flat floor?
No guarantee because you still have to properly place it. You can dump it, but you've got to work it and get it to the low areas so they can fill those up and get it off the high areas so you'll have a flat floor.
And one of the reasons for changing the terminology is because self-leveling underlayment, SLU, as we have known it for years, is not really totally accurate. Because you can't dump it in the middle of the room and I'll say it's going to flow over to Randy. Well, I don't know if we have enough time for that to happen. And it's going to set up before that occurs. So we've got to make sure a couple of things happen. One thing is we're going to use that SLU properly by priming it. That priming it is also going to get it more flowability. So it's going to flow more easily, but we're probably going to use a gauged rake to get it to that place.
Right, also you can use the pins, you can set pins for heights ahead of time to know where you need to start placing it. Because if you just kind of guess, you're probably dumping it in the wrong place.
So there is a lot of intricacies to what we do. It's not a matter of just dump and go. So now we've got this surface flat. Can we now install that 83.5-inch plank on this floor? Now, after we're done, and I have my friend Mark Heinlein back there, and he and I did a gauge porcelain tile job, or a demonstration, and the floor that was prepared for us had a hump in the middle. So we had to go in and redo it again to make sure we could get it flat enough for the installation of gauge porcelain tile, the large 1 meter by 3 meter up to 5 foot by 10 foot panels. So now, Randy, we've got this surface flat. Are we ready to set tile?
Good to go.
We are good to go. Look at what it took to get us to this point, and you're saying, well, I still don't get it. What's the deal about lippage? If it's not flat, we're going to have this situation where the one tile is higher than the other one. We have two issues. My alumni will help me here this morning. The first issue is aesthetically, it does not look good, especially with lighting. So if that lighting is right here, cascading across this wall, it jumps out. If we are in a situation on a floor and we have patio doors or some sort of lighting at a low angle, that light coming across that surface is going to make those high spots look like the Grand Canyon and Mount Everest. So we've got to make sure it's flat enough. So we have a couple of test panels here mounted up, and I'm going to ask, you haven't participated yet. Derek, how's that white tile panel look? That's a, Randy, what is that? Is that a 6 by 16?
6 by 16, yep.
So Derek, how's it look? Do you think there's a lot of lippage? Why don't you come on up here and help me? I'm going to give you the unscientific hand test. So go ahead and check that panel and tell us what you think.
Lippage right there. Right there.
How's this? This feels pretty flat, right?
Yeah, feels pretty flat.
Feels flat, okay. Do you find any really nasty ones?
This one's bad.
That one? How about that one?
Is this a test?
Okay, so we know we have an expert right here with Derek. He's already told us we've got some lippage right here. So how do we quantify that? So Randy, thank you. We have, you may go.
Thank you.
Although you can stay and do the Vanna White if you so desire. We have this lippage device to measure what that is going to be, and I'm going to run this through and hey, I'm feeling pretty good. But uh-oh. Now, Randy, check that for me with a straight edge. How do we feel? Are we clear?
Yes.
Derek, you just told me you didn't think that was very good. It's within the ANSI standard of 1/32 of an inch. Do you do residential or commercial? Both. Do you think your residential customer is going to accept that? So we have an issue. So now let's see what we can further find. If I go up here to, oh boy. Randy, how about checking that one for me? High enough?
Nope.
How about we do this? This is 1/32. This is 1/16. Where's my mathematician in the group? How many of these do I have to one of these? 2 of them. So I've got now 2 of these in this one, and Randy, you put that. I'm still too high. So now we've got a significant lip, and if this was on the wall and our lighting was right here, oh, you want to check that one, Randy? Oh, we're not even close. So we have some significant lippage in one piece of tile. If this is on a wall and we have the light source right here, is this joint going to show? Probably not, because the light source is coming down across it. If we look at this joint, however, we're going to have a shadow. Now, if Randy decides, well, the customer just changed their mind, residentially or commercially, they now want this to be horizontally installed. So if this horizontal high spot ends up on the surface like this, that light shadowing come across there, you've got a Grand Canyon growing underneath that piece of tile. You show me a customer that's going to accept that. So we've got some significant issues here. Now, Randy, you're not the installer.
Good. Whew. Actually, I did. But
He
it's
is
okay.
the installer. But can we fix that? Brandon, can we fix it? How? So we've got to take out at least one piece of tile, but realize, Don, did we flatten the surface to do that ahead of time? No. So now when we go back with the new tile, Brandon's our guy, he's going to install that. He goes back and to install that. Can he get that new tile flat? No, he can't, because the high spot's still there. He didn't solve the problem before the tile was installed. By the way, Brandon, you didn't install it. You're the guy that does the punch list. I get that. So once we see that this problem's there, we can't fix it. The only way we can fix this thing is to tear it out completely and start over. That gets extremely expensive. I can't stress enough how critical it is to get the surface flat and to realize that in today's installation world, how many people here are installing tile? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we got some guys. You're my guys. So when you're installing tile, are you putting the substrate up on the walls? Let's say it's backer board. You are putting your own backer board up? Go away. The point is, most times, are you residential or commercial? Okay, and that's probably why. I will tell you, I did all my own backer board as well. But if you're doing commercial work, that is now almost always going to be done by the rockers. And they don't do the same kind of workmanship that we do because we know how flat that surface has got to be. So when you get to the job site, what's your name, sir? Ryan, when you get to that job site, what's the first thing you're going to do? Oh, you want plumb level and square. Whoa, man, this guy wants it all. But the first tool we're going to use is the one that Randy and I brought up. You're going to use that 10-foot straight edge. When you find out a situation, Ryan, like we've got here, what's your next move? You're going to start sending some RFIs to everybody in the pipeline to make sure that they understand that this surface is not proper for the installation of tile. When you arrive, this surface should be ready for tile. And if it does, let's say Ryan is not the sharpest guy, and you're not, I'm sure you are. But let's say Ryan goes onto the job site, and I'm the GC, and I'm saying, Ryan, you got 3 days to get 4,000 feet done. And don't worry about the problems because it won't be one. So now Ryan goes ahead and does the job. He puts the tile in place. Now guess what? The general contractor has selective amnesia because what he told Ryan at the inception of the job is, don't worry about it, it won't be a problem. Now it's a problem because you're going to pay for it to take it out, prep it the way it should have been the first time, which you didn't get paid to do, and put the tile back. Am I right? So his smart move is exactly what he said earlier. We're going to go in and check that surface, and what was your wording? You're going to contact whom? Anybody that's in the pipeline to make sure that they understand this is not an adequate surface for ceramic tile. And if you bend to that mindset of, I'm going to do it anyway, it becomes yours. And hopefully it works out well. But we see that we have issues that can occur if we don't get it flat from the very beginning. So lippage has a direct correlation to how flat that floor or that wall is. The other secondary issue that I touched on before, we said that these issues are aesthetically displeasing. Would everybody agree? They don't look good. What's the other one? There's one more. It's unsafe. Tell me why it's unsafe. If somebody walks across that surface and they trip and fall, I hope they're not a surgeon or someone that works with their hands on a highly skilled activity. Because the building owner, the architect, the general contractor, any of the subs involved, and the tile contractor are culpable for those damages. So it's really incumbent upon us to make sure that that surface is flat when the finished tile surface is in place. Randy, do you have anything further?
Yeah, just a little further, if this was a pattern like you see here, and you're trying to tear out just the one piece to fix, because of the pattern, if you tear it out and bring it low enough to be adjacent here, now you're going to be lower than that plane right there. You just keep chasing the problem. So it just becomes very, very difficult to fix a floor that you tiled wrong or a wall that you tiled wrong to begin with.
Very good, thank you. We are finished for our presentation. I think we're close in time. Anybody have any questions? And by the way, it's just not me. I've got a field of experts in the back row, and if I don't have enough, I can go right over here to the NTCA and get some reinforcements. So, questions, anyone? My seminar this morning, no one asked the question whenever I was on stage, but as soon as the program was over, whew, everybody came at once.
Well,
That's good,
I have a
that's
question.
fine. That's what we're here to do. Ultimately, what we want to do is install tile correctly. Which time? First time. Mr. Wolfeld, please. So you've got to add that to, and by the way, one thing that we didn't touch on is the width of the grout joint. If you have warpage, inherent warpage in the tile, that formula that James just mentioned is added to the width. So do I have any designers? Yes, sir. So you're the designer. The designer may call for, have you ever specified a 1/32 inch grout joint? He is a wise man. If you specify 1/32 inch joint, we can't give it to you because the tile is not perfect enough. So we need to know if it's a large format tile that's calibrated, meaning it's measured at the factory. The smallest joint on a large format tile is 1/8 of an inch. If it's calibrated, no, I'm sorry, if it's calibrated, it's 1/6, no, I'll start over. If it's rectified, the smallest joint is 1/8. If it's calibrated, meaning it's not measured or recalculated by grinding at the plant, it's 3/16. So you said you wanted a 16th joint, and now I'm saying the smallest joint for the tile selected is 3/16. Are you okay with that? So we have an unhappy designer, but we have to stick to our guns as installers and saying, here's the standard that we have established. We have books to back that up. We have that information available. Now we have the negotiation process to figure out how we can get that installed without problems. I think I'm done. If no one has a further question, I thank you for your kind attention, and please make yourself available to the NTCA booth and also to the CTF booth right next door. Thank you.